Hello folks, welcome to OTD, also known as On the Deck, where you can get all the sports you need in 10 minutes. My name is Adam Orduna. This is my mom, Gina.
He's a journalist.
And she's the enthusiast.
Oh, she's enthusiastic because we finally get to talk about some women's sports.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we do.
On this Throwback Thursday.
Today is Throwback Thursday. That's why we are wearing our retro throwback jerseys, our basketball jerseys, and it is March, and so we are in the heat, or the very beginning, or you could call it heat, or yeah, the heat in the beginning of March Madness, and all the NCAA tournaments, men's and women's, is taking place. Some of them have started earlier this week, and today is really the main start of
the meat and potatoes,
the real start of the NCAA college basketball tournament.
This is like when it's Thanksgiving dinner and you come over and you got the little appetizer trays, but everybody's there and you start to eat it. That was early this week.
Right.
Now it's time to put the turkey on the table. So we're into it.
Everyone's now, the table is set, everyone's sitting down, and now the prayer has been said, and everyone is now taking that first bite of their Thanksgiving plate.
That's what it is.
And so, yes, we're going to talk about the women's side of the NCAA tournament today, and there are some really cool things that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, it's exciting.
And I'm excited because this is fun. This is the NCAA March Madness time, and for the women's, we've got 24 teams.
Wow.
This is all reference to Division I at least. 24 teams for the men's and women's side of the draw that are both playing into the main overall tournament for the NCAA.
So we got 24 colleges where their men's team and their women's team are both in the NCAA tournaments. And I just want to reference this hat. You know, your grandma, my mom, huge women's basketball fan. She's got all her tickets.
Pro
she goes
and
to Final
college.
Four.
Yes.
Oh, yes. And she brought this back for me. This is from a couple of years ago, the Women's College Championship.
It's the Hall of Fame. It's from the Women's College Basketball Hall of Fame.
Yes,
so it's
I'm
awesome.
repping that.
Yes, and so with the women's side of things here, like we said, there's 24 teams from major universities that have both men's and women's playing in the NCAA tournament. And we're going to talk about the regions of which they're in. Let's go ahead and start with the Lexington region here.
Well, I'll jump in on that one. So from the Lexington region, you've got Notre Dame, you've got Kentucky, you've got New Mexico State and K-State, all women's teams where their counterpart, the men's teams, are playing in the big dance.
Yes, okay, and then we're going to go talk about the Stockton region, where there's a lot of teams that have both in there.
Doubled up.
We've got South Carolina, Michigan State, Marquette, Miami, the U, Florida Gulf Coast, Florida State, and Creighton.
Well, and then if you go over to the Bridgeport, because you know the men do east, west, northwest, the women just go by the name of the city. So in the Bridgeport, Iowa State, UCLA, Oregon, West Virginia, Maryland, Bucknell, and Duke. And by the way, Duke's the #2 seed on the women's side of the bracket, just like it is on the men's side of the bracket.
How ironic is that?
There you go.
And then as far as the Oklahoma City region, we've got Baylor, Texas Southern, Dayton, Louisville, Troy, and Gonzaga. So that's really cool.
And you think about, out of 64 teams, you got 24 of them that have doubled up. Those are good programs.
And those programs are well represented.
Yes.
All of those teams are good in basketball. And so it's awesome to see that.
And if you think about it, Duke has a chance to have a double champion because Duke men and Duke's women are both seeded #2.
Right.
Now, Duke women have a little bit of a harder battle.
They do.
We'll talk about that. But think about they could do that.
Exactly. They're #2 seed, and so that means their matchups are favorable for the most part. Those first couple games should work out in their favor. So that'll be fun.
There's a lot of good ones.
There are a lot of good ones. Okay, so let's kind of talk about who we think is going to make some noise, I guess, if you will, within this tournament, and then we'll talk about our Final Four at the very end. And let's start with that Lexington bracket.
All right.
There are some good teams in there. I know that for myself, being a K-Stater, EMA, you know, that's really going to be fun to watch them. I'm glad they're in the tournament. I think they've got a chance to maybe make it to the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8. Then you've got Kentucky, who we all know about the men's side of things, but the women's, Kentucky, they're doing well. And then the WAC tournament champion, New Mexico State, they're in there. And then obviously Notre Dame. So we'll see. Those are some good matchups right there.
They really are.
Yeah.
And Well, I think the other team in that region that I would say could make some noise, and I hope they do, is the Texas women.
Correct. That's a good point there.
You know, the number 2 seed over there is Stanford, and that's going to be a rough go for everybody.
Man.
I'm just going to tell you, they are bad business.
And those are some notables just really for
those are good
the Lexington region on that side of the bracket.
Well, I'll talk about Stockton. And there, you know, you've got South Carolina. That is my girl for sure, coaching down there, Dawn Staley.
Yes.
She was named the new U.S. women's coach, so she'll be taking the women's team to the Worlds and to the Olympics.
Yes.
But then you've got Michigan State, and you know they play basketball at Michigan State. They really do. You know who's interesting? Obviously, you have Florida State, the U, but I'm interested to see the Missouri women because Mizzou needs some wins.
They do.
And I watched them a little bit at the end of the season. I didn't watch a ton of women, but I did watch Mizzou, and they actually were playing well.
They did play well. They are ranked in the top 25 this year, and they were on a run.
I'm going to tell you though, my sleeper out there is at Florida State because them girls can ball down there.
Yeah, they can.
Anybody else notable for you?
Yeah, no, I just like to say Creighton, and as far as like the locational teams, K-State, Mizzou, and Creighton all made it into the tournament.
Yeah,
so
those
that's
are
really
kind of
good.
our local teams.
Our local teams within the Metro.
Still shout out to Iowa State
Midwest.
too, Big 12.
Yeah, exactly. I would say as well. Okay, well, as far as Bridgeport goes, as we're still talking about notable teams here, Duke for sure. Number 2, we kind of highlighted them a little bit ago. That's going to be a team to be watching for. Obviously, you've got UConn, the number 1 overall team. They probably will make a really deep run. We just mentioned Iowa State. I think that's going to be fun. And then UCLA. We'll see what they can do.
Yep, you got UCLA on both sides.
Representing the Pac-12. I think that'll be fun. And then continuing with the Big 12, West Virginia. That will be a good one to watch as well.
And I agree with all of those. I will tell you a sleeper team for me out of there is going to be Maryland. They're a number 3 seed. And
there you go.
Know, those girls, they can play in the Big Ten.
Yeah, being a 3 seed, like you said, that's a pretty good seeding right there. Yeah.
Well, and then the final bracket, the Oklahoma City region down there. Obviously, we have Baylor. We're all in for that.
Yep.
But then you've got down there, I would say you got the Gonzaga women, which kind of surprised me. Now, they're an 11 seed. They're not 1-1. But the Oklahoma women are playing there. And here's a team no one's talking about, and I don't know how far they'll go, but the number 3 seed down there is Washington.
Yes.
I'm always a Husky fan. Right. So I'm just looking forward to seeing them do something.
Well, and speaking of Washington, on the men's side of things, they just fired their head basketball coach, so it's good for the Huskies to have a team represented in the postseason. And then clearly, for me, out of that region, I agree with all the teams that you mentioned, but Tennessee, they're back in the tournament. They're doing great things, and we'll see if they can go on a run. We all know that Pat Summitt was the legendary coach there, and so we'll see what happens.
Did I mention Louisville out of there?
No, we haven't mentioned Louisville yet, but clearly that's a team that can make some noise as well. And so there's some good teams in this bracket.
There really are. And I don't mean to miss over anybody, but Mississippi State's down there too.
Yes,
those girls can ball too. The 1 and 2 seeds in the women's side of the brackets are really, really strong.
Right. Okay, so now that we kind of have that out there, those are just some of the notables out of the regions. Like you said, in the men's side, they do directionals, north, south, east, west. In the women's, they do cities or areas, really. At regions. And so let's talk about the Final Fours quickly, and then we'll save our champions for later on down the road.
Right. Oh, shall I go first?
Yeah,
okay, my bad.
Sorry, I should have said that.
Well, why don't we go in reverse order? I'm going to come out of the OKC region.
Sure.
And we're just saying Final Four, not
just the Final Four. Just Final Four here.
I'm telling you, we just talked about it. You got Baylor and Louisville. You got Mississippi State and Gonzaga down there. But I got to roll with the Baylor women. So they're going to be my Final Four out of there.
Sure.
Then out of Bridgeport. I think, I'd love to pick a Duke or something, but UConn is sitting there. They're going to be in the Final Four. That's just the end of the day. Then out of Stockton, I'm, conflicted because I kind of want to roll with the Creighton women.
Sure.
But then you got South Carolina, but you got Michigan State. So that's going to be a tough go. That's going to be a tough go. But I think I'm just going to go with Dawn Staley. Yep. I know it's the number 1 seed, and I'm picking all the 1 seeds, but I'm going to roll with Dawn. And then I will do the switch up. Notre Dame is the number 1 seed out of Lexington. I'm going with Stanford in the Final Four.
All right. You know what? They're playing really good this year, and we'll see what happens. For me, this is not a lot of thinking here. It's like, oh, you didn't even think about it. Yeah. I'm going to go with all the number 1s.
All right,
I think
fair enough.
All the number 1s right now are playing their best basketball. You've got Notre Dame, you've got UConn, you've got Baylor, and you've got South Carolina. Now, it doesn't mean that there couldn't be a shakeup, like you said. Duke, Louisville could maybe make some noise. There's a lot of other teams out there that have a good chance. Creighton, maybe K-State, who's playing well. But I'm going to just stick with the #1 seeds in this one and go with those teams.
Well, that's going to be exciting to see. And I will say this. I know that I'm one of the biggest people who gets on UConn because I feel like when you're on a 107-game winning streak and you're beating people by 40 points, 70 points, you only had a couple of games where it was single-digit wins.
Right.
It's like, why do we even watch? Just give them the crown. But you watch because in March, you never know what happens.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you, if you're bored by the Bridgeport region, watch the Oklahoma City region. Watch the Stockton region.
Right.
That Baylor, Daytonville, Dayton and Louisville, Gonzaga, Mississippi State. There's good games to watch on the women's side. They're going to be battling to get into that Final Four. So I'm excited for that.
It's going to be a great tournament, and we're excited for these women to get going. And so hopefully there'll be some surprise shakeups, and we'll see. It's part of March Madness.
Well, I picked Stanford. You picked Notre Dame.
Exactly. We'll continue to follow us on all of our social media. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, type in my name, Adam Orduna, and like our page on Facebook, OTD. We're really excited because it's March Madness, and we're going to continue to stay glued to the TV.
Yeah, we
want to say we appreciate your time.
Thanks for hanging.
Thanks for watching, folks.